Okay, quick backstory. Are you with me? Hang on just a second, okay? Our very good friends had this cool project idea. They'd been wanting to do it for quite a while. Well, they saw how handy yours truly, Andy, is, so they went ahead and asked if I'd be willing to help them on this as far as tools and maybe special knowledge. Of course, I said, hell yes. Now remind you, I was not filming back when we started this project. It was quite a while ago. So I've only filmed part of it, but lucky for you, it was all the good parts, like the epoxy. What's up, y'all? My name is Andy. This is Epeiuscustoms Garage. Today, I'm going to show you a really cool peace sign made of wood, beer bottle caps, and epoxy. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell if you want any notifications on future videos. Also, all the tools, gadgets, and material I use in this video will be linked down in the description. So if you're interested in purchasing any of them, please use that link. It helps me out just a little bit at no extra cost to you. I really hope you enjoy the video.
Okay, let's get up to speed here. Peace sign is built out of solid lumber. Didn't want to use plywood because it's going to be outdoors, even though it's getting epoxied. And here we've started, or actually my friends have started placing all the beer bottle caps. They decided to do them randomly, but all facing the same direction. So none of them are sideways or upside down. And I think this was a good choice because it turned out really cool. And there is Bandit. Not his first debut. He was in my squirrel video as well at the end. Too bad he wouldn't look at the camera. There's good calculators online for epoxy formulas. I'm pouring the 2-part epoxy now. I use a scale to weigh mine out. This epoxy is just a super clear tabletop epoxy, and I'll link it in the description below. When mixing your epoxy, it's really important to mix it really, really well. It told me on the package to mix for 3 minutes. I usually mix mine 5 to 6 minutes just to make sure. And make sure you get around the edges, the bottom, so you don't have any sticky residue left when it all cures. Then it's easy to pull out of your bucket if you get a smooth bucket like what I'm using. This is the initial pour. The plan on this pour was only like a 1/16 inch pour, maybe 1/8 inch, just enough to keep the beer bottle caps from floating up, but whenever it cured, they were stuck. Then we could do our final pour without any issues. When we did a test piece, they floated on us, and it was kind of a pain in the rear. However, I did not account for the volume that the beer bottle caps take in the formula. While I was pouring the epoxy, Kelly and Amanda were helping remove air bubbles and pushing down the few bottle caps that did float, because like I said, poured a little more than we needed to. For the final pour, Kelly and Amanda decided to just do a flood pour and allow it to just go over all the edges and allow the beer bottle caps to have a texture on top, if that makes any sense. They won't be totally covered. All right, here's the flood pour. Notice we didn't dam up the sides. We're just gonna allow this to fill and go over all the edges. And I'm gonna use an old paintbrush just to make sure that all the edges and everything's totally covered. This will give it that nice clear look from anywhere I sanded and cleaned up, as well as protecting the edges. And then on the bottom, any drips, the tape should help make that an easier cleanup. Now you just let it cure for 24 hours.
Getting really close to finishing this. I like how it's turning out. The only thing left to do on this is I'm going to go ahead, and I've already started, but I'm going to peel off all the tape. I use tape to make it easier to take the drip marks off from the last pour that we did.
I found that my oscillating tool with a scraping attachment works pretty good at removing the old tape and epoxy. Once I got that done, I went ahead and used 80 grit sandpaper, sanded the back down, and used the original stain that was used and just touched it up.
A little more difficult than I thought, getting the drips off the back. If you have any better ways of doing this, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to know. This is really the first time I've dealt with drips like this. The tape kind of worked, but if you got the tips, let me know. They supplied me with some stain. I'm going to go ahead and touch it up. Probably doesn't really need to be, but since there's no more epoxy going on, I'm going to go ahead and touch up the back. No big deal. My friends decided to go with the French Cleat method. Found these on Amazon. I'll go ahead and link them in the description. I think it's going to be a good method, but basically one gets put on the project, the other one gets put on the wall, and let me turn this around, and they slide into each other like that. See? And then it holds it. These will hold, I think, around 50 pounds, she said. It should work just fine. We'll see.
To get the French Cleat system level so that the peace sign hangs level, I used, as you can see here, the vertical part of the peace sign, and I butted it all up against it, clamped it down, and just used that as a guide and pushed everything against the straight edge. It worked out pretty good. For whatever reason, these came with screws that were, some of them were long and some of them were really short, and I did not like how they were securing, so I decided to use my own screws that were a little longer and beefier.
I'm really not sure why, but it came with these little tiny screws, so I went ahead and took some of my own screws. They're longer, beefier, a little more thread, changed them up. I feel better about that. I don't know why they did these for the brackets on your piece, and then they did long ones for the wall. They should have given an option. Turned out so cool. I really love how they decided to keep the texture. See how the beer bottles aren't all the way covered, so you have that slight texture there. I really like that. Could have walled it all the way up and done it totally flat, filled it totally up. I don't think it would have looked as cool. This will be going outside, so just remind you, if you're doing an epoxy project outside, keep it out of the direct sun. Direct sun will yellow and fade it over time. I hope you liked it. Remember to comment. Really appreciate that. Y'all, stay safe, have fun. Andy out.